Hey everybody, alright, I wanted to do another video, and in this one, I'm going to talk a little bit about something that no one ever talks about, ever. I mean, never, ever, ever. And it's a topic that I kind of made up myself, because no one ever talks about this. When we talk about narcissists, we're usually talking about their manipulative traits, their negative qualities, their pattern of behavior that is very toxic, the toxic relationship that you have with them, this love-hate type relationship that's always there and looming. But the one thing that you don't really ever see, I mean, you might see it like once, there might be like one or two people that have actually done a video on this, and that is, are there any positive traits, any positive qualities, any positivity when you are with a narcissist? Is there anything that they bring to a relationship that is happy? Any kind of happiness, any kind of good quality, happy memory? Every relationship is different. Now, I talk about romantic relationships, but I also talk about, I have talked about regular family, co-workers, friends who are narcissists as well. I'm talking about a romantic partner in this one, right? An ex. Yeah, it's hard to think about that. It's hard to, and it's not just the fact of talking about it and bringing up positive things, because you might be able to think about a couple, and there might be a few things, a few positive or good qualities that you had with your ex-narcissist, because I know I have a couple with mine. The problem with that is giving that narcissist any kind of compliment or accolade, giving them any kind of positive reinforcement. You don't really want to do that. You know, like, I know for me, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to make him feel good. Like, I don't want to do that and make him feel like he's, you know, no. And a lot of people don't. And that's a big reason why a lot of times the bad outweighs the good. You know what I mean? And with me, at the end, that was the case. The bad outweighed the good. Yeah. But this is the thing, too. There might be a couple good qualities. There might be a couple traits or a certain thing that you used to do together that you really like doing, right? And unfortunately, you couldn't continue to enjoy whatever that was because the person was toxic. You know, your narcissist was toxic. And that sucks. It does suck because everybody has, well, supposedly everybody has, some good traits. With me and my ex-narcissist, we had a lot of chaos, a lot of distrust at the end because I knew he was cheating. But in the middle and in the beginning, during the happier times we had, there were things that we used to do that were fun. There were things we used to do that were positive. I mean, the one thing that he did was he well, he didn't teach me. I already knew football, but he did kind of like widen my horizons as far as with different plays and learning about football a little bit more. Like, he would talk about it and I would ask him questions about it, and he would kind of talk about it and I would learn a little bit more from him. I already knew a lot about it already, but with him, a lot of times he was pretty good at, at different plays and stuff like that. So that was one good thing. And the fact that he also enjoyed it, back then he did. I don't think he still does, to be honest, but back then he did, and it was wonderful. It was great to have a boyfriend who enjoyed football the way I enjoyed it. Now, I had dated other guys who liked football, but they either liked like a crappy team that I hated, or they liked it, but they weren't like diehard fans about it. You know what I mean? Like, I really enjoyed football. I watched Sundays, Monday night, whenever there was a game on, I used to watch it. I mean, I loved football. And mostly, back then I had my team. Now I don't really have a team. I mean, not really. Not really. So when it comes to that whole thing, having a sport that you both like is a very good thing. It really was a wonderful pastime because it's still something that I do look forward to, and I do try, and I do watch football. Like, I watched a little bit of the game. Was it last night? The Bills coming back. I mean, that was amazing. It was almost like you almost didn't believe it. Like, I don't know about football anymore as far as these games being whatever planned. But I have to say, I'm not going to lie. Like, a lot of times it does go through my mind. It does. It never used to. It never used to. Back in the 2000s and the 2000 teens, I never used to think that football was rigged ever. But I'll be honest, in the past few years, it does cross my mind. And I know I've talked about this with a lot of my guy friends, and they're like, no, there's no possible way it could be. It still crosses my mind because sometimes these games just, I don't know. But anyway, I still watch football. Even though I don't really have a favorite team anymore, I still like the sport. I still like the game. And I do root for teams, to win, even though they're not like my team. There is a favorite team that I will, So yeah, I do like football, and he also liked it. So that was one good quality that we had. That was a huge quality because I used to love watching football with my ex-narcissist. It was definitely up there, When there was a game on, oftentimes there would be two games on. My team would be playing, and then his team would be playing, and we would make a day out of it. And he would be cooking. And another thing that he did that we really enjoyed was cooking. Hate to give my narcissist any kind of positive, and I hate to talk about him like this. I don't think it's good. But he was a very, very good cook. And what was good about my ex-narcissist with the cooking was that he used to make things that I really liked. And he knew the way I liked things. And he would prepare them the way I liked them. And I really appreciated that. Because he knew the kind of foods I liked, and he would, like I said, he would cook it the way I liked it. And he would cut my meat for me. He did things like that for me. In the very beginning and in the middle of the relationship, he was very good that way. He was very thoughtful when it came to cooking, and I enjoyed it just as much as he did. I'm Italian, and I like to eat, and I like food. And he used to cook it he was a very good cook, and he cooked it the way I liked it. He didn't overcook stuff, he cooked it just right, and he cooked things that I liked. Now, I'm a very easy person to please. I'm not, okay, let me tell you the things I don't like. I'm not into spicy foods. I don't like heavy-duty spices. I can't eat that stuff. So he never cooked stuff like that. He was more of just like, a grilling person. I like the grilling stuff. I like a good steak. Yeah. But, he would also try to cook Italian food, and he would make Italian food. He always would try, and he did pretty good with it. We would make sauce, and he did okay. He was very good at cooking. I have to say that he was a good cook. He was a good cook. Could never take that away from him. Yes, he's a narcissist, but he was a very good cook. Cooking vegetables the way I liked them. He used to cook meat the way I liked it, and he would cook it in a way that I liked it. So I liked that about him. One of the things I miss about my ex-narcissist is his cooking. And you would think I'm like some fat girl. Like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not a fat girl. I'm skinny. But no, that's one good thing another thing that he was good at was cooking. Any other kind of positive traits that he had. we used to do things together, but he wasn't, like I was a homebody. I am a homebody, and as I've gotten older, I'm even more of a homebody now than I used to be, because going out now with the roads, the traffic, it's it's very difficult where I am, because I live in an area that's very overpopulated, and there's not enough roads for the people that live here, and there's a lot of bad drivers that have moved up here who live here now, and it's just very annoying to be out on these roads. There's a lot of road work going on, and it's terrible. Now, where I live, it's bad. Not the whole state is like this, but most of the state is like this, unless you live out west, going like a lot, right, west, west, west. Then it's a little bit better. Where I am, it sucks. So I am a homebody. One of the things we also used to like doing was, he was into watching movies. He liked movies too, and I used to enjoy that as well. Picking out movies together was also something that I really enjoyed. And sometimes he would pick out movies that I liked, or he would say, I think you're going to like this movie. And he would kind of pick a movie that he thought I would like. And oftentimes I did like it. When he put the effort into it, in the middle and in the beginning, we had a pretty okay relationship. It wasn't bad. I remember we used to go through the circular, the grocery store circular, and we would look at what we wanted to buy that week. And we would go through the circular together, and we would look at the different things that were on sale, and we would, correlate what we were going to have for dinner that night or dinner that week. And we would go through the circular, we'd write things down. And that was another thing that was kind of fun that we used to do. I've never done that with anybody else, like any other boyfriends. So that was also something that was interesting and fun. There were things that we did that were positive or that were happy or whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we used to do that were in the middle. Like I said, if our relationship would have stayed on that course, as when it peaked, maybe 2 to 3 years after we were together, but I would say by the third year it peaked, we would have been probably a happy couple, forever. But unfortunately, the relationship did not stay that way. It did not remain like that. It declined. Instead of getting better or staying on that same course, it got worse. And it got worse slowly. It didn't overnight just deteriorate. It started to go bad little by little by little by little. But yeah, and I think there was nothing that I could have done that would have saved that relationship or would have made that relationship successful as far as us staying together forever. No. The problems that we had stemmed from him and the fact that he's a narcissist. And that's it, I don't take the blame for that anymore. I don't, say to myself, oh, if I would have done this or I would have done that, would that relationship would have worked? No, it still wouldn't have worked because the problem didn't stem from me. I stayed the same during the entire relationship. I did not change. He's the one that changed. I did not change. Was I happy? I was happy in the relationship in the very beginning and in the middle. The middle and the beginning was good. The end was not good. That's like with anything, though, usually, right? Like, most time relationships do suck at the end. So, for the first, let's say 4 to 5 years, maybe 4 years, between 3 to 5 years, the middle, yeah, it was okay. It was starting to go bad, though, and it was starting to go bad. As I said, it goes bad slowly. The traits, the behavior patterns start to become a pattern. The little things become big things. And it just gets bigger and bigger, like any problem, it just snowballs. But there are positive things, and there's always positive things. If there wasn't good qualities, or our relationship really sucked that much, I wouldn't have been there all that time. And after the 5th year, I shouldn't have. And the only thing that kept me there after 5 years was the familiarity of the relationship, as far as I had been with him for 5 years already, and I knew him, and I really didn't want to start over with another guy. And the fact that it was comfortable to be with him because he knew me and I knew him, and it was easy, And I was the kind of girlfriend, I didn't really bother him much. He had a lot of freedom with me. I wasn't very needy in those days with him. I really wasn't. He very it's crazy. He really didn't. He wasn't the kind of guy. He really wasn't right for me in a lot of ways. He really wasn't. I needed more help, and he really didn't help me in a lot of things. No, he didn't. Whereas he could have, he chose not to. And once I feel like those things started to arise, when I started to need things and he wasn't there for me, that was a big problem as well, because I started to kind of back away from him because I started to see how selfish he was. And he was very selfish with me. He didn't like to give when it came to any kind of financial help, or even saying to him, hey, I'm having a rough time this month. Can you maybe, help me pay this car insurance? It's only $100. Can you help me? I remember one time I needed his help. I must have been sick or something. I didn't go to work for a few days, and I didn't have my car insurance. My car insurance was $110 a month or something, and he wouldn't even give me that. I've been with you for 6 years. You wouldn't help me with that? That was a huge, I remember when that happened. That was a huge off-putting thing that he did that really started to open my eyes. I started to say to myself, what does he really do for me? This is the thing that I've had this conversation with other friends, because a lot of my girlfriends at the time were like, well, why are you still with that guy? He doesn't really do anything for you. And I'm like, and I would say, well, he's a good cook. And they would say, well, he's eating too. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. And then I couldn't really think of anything that he did that was special just for me. But I do understand at the time, when you're working and stuff like that. But still, I don't think that was an excuse. I would make excuses for my ex-narcissist, and I did. I was a very understanding type person. And I wasn't over-extravagant. I wasn't an extravagant girlfriend at all. I was very easy to please. Very easy to please. He really didn't have any complaint against me at all, really. He really didn't. I was a good girl. But narcissists get bored, and that goes back to the boredom. Although they will start to look for other people as a challenge. They look for other people to, that charge that I talk about, and they will become bored with you. As I said before, a happy life or a content, settled down life is not really what a narcissist really wants. Narcissists like to chase. They like the new relationship. They like meeting people. They like meeting new people who don't know they're a narcissist, okay? So that's the thing with narcissists. They enjoy the very beginning of that relationship. When they're putting that person on a pedestal, the narcissist loves that honeymoon stage because it's all new to them. They're meeting somebody new. They don't know they're a narcissist. And it's all like any relationship, right? They're getting their supply. They're getting, they're having the attention that they want. They're with somebody new, and that's when they're the happiest. But it will run out. It will run out. It will not last forever. That feeling is fleeting and short, and within a few months, it doesn't. There's no time frame for this kind of thing either. When I was with my narcissist, things were okay between us for a few years. I think between me and my ex-narcissist, the pedestal stage lasted more than just a year. I mean, when we were together, because we did get engaged. We got engaged after about 2 years of being together. We did get engaged. So it did last for more than 2 years, the pedestal stage. because I remember when we got engaged, we were both still in that happy place. We were still kind of happy. It wasn't going bad just yet. You know what I mean? So it was still kind of good between us. We still respected me. I still respected him. You know, we still had like somewhat hopes, you know, of like a long-term relationship together. Yeah, I mean, I think at that time, during those years, I think for both of us, that was probably the most sure that we both kind of were in a relationship. Because, like, he had dated other people too that didn't work out. And I also, you know, I didn't date as much as he did. He had many more girlfriends than I've had, boyfriends. But I think in those very, you know, early years that we were together, I think that it was probably, we did think that we had found the one, because we did have a good relationship in the very beginning. And although there were tiffs and little tiff arguments or fights or whatever, we always kind of worked it out, and they never really lasted that long. And our arguments were over really stupid things too. Like, they were like the most dumbest things in the world. But a lot of times, you know, that's what a lot of fights are. Like, they're not really that important. They're kind of dumb when you really think about it. But it wasn't until after like the 5th year that things started to really go really bad. But yeah. But no, there are good things about your relationship with your narcissist. And there's things that you might even miss. And when I think back about mine, I do. And I say, oh, you know, it's too bad that, you know, he was a narcissist. Because if he wasn't a narcissist and our relationship had taken that smooth path, it would have been nice. But he does have those strong narcissistic traits that eventually will show themselves. And with us, they eventually did. Eventually, it happened, you know. So I just wanted to do this little video and just say that, you know, if you've been with a narcissist or you're with one right now, there are going to be positive qualities about that person, or else you would have never started dating them in the first place, right? There are going to be some things that you might miss, some things that you might remember with fond memories, you know. Yeah, there's going to be good times with that person, okay? Because a lot of times with a narcissist, things don't go bad right away. They go bad later on, you know. But anyway, I guess that's it for this one. I just wanted to kind of talk about this and say that it's completely normal to have good, you know, for your narcissist to have good qualities. You know, it's just, there's a whole lot of bad ones there too. And that's kind of the sadness part of the whole thing, is that there are a lot of bad traits that make being with them impossible. Because you don't have the respect, the trust, the honesty, the things that you really need to have a relationship in the first place. Okay? In the very beginning, they pretend to have these things, but they really don't. So, that's it.